Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. The movie begins in 1974, with a seemingly normal family of a wax sculpture maker having breakfast. Shortly after, the father enters the room carrying the second child, who is struggling with all their might to escape his grasp. We realize that the parents are quite abusive. Then we jump to the present day, with a group of young adults about to embark on a road trip to watch a sports game. Carly, the feisty one, Paige, the promiscuous friend, Wade, Carly's protective boyfriend, Nick, Carly's rebellious twin, Blake, Paige's boyfriend, and Dalton, the mischief-loving friend who enjoys filming his buddies. The group of friends piles into two different cars and sets off on their journey. A few hours later, Paige suggests that they should stop somewhere for the night and rest. They choose an isolated spot in the middle of the forest to set up camp. Shortly after, a gust of wind blows in their direction, and the group begins to smell a foul odor coming from the forest. They decide to ignore it for now and continue to have fun around the campfire. Suddenly, a truck interrupts the celebration, and the group asks the driver to exit the vehicle, but the driver doesn't react. Even after Nick throws a bottle, the driver still refuses to come out. After a few tense moments, the truck drives away. Later, when the group is sleeping, an unknown figure takes Dalton's camera and starts filming them. The subtle noises wake Carly, who immediately goes to investigate. However, she finds nothing. In the morning, Dalton can't find his camera. The group ignores him and continues to prepare to resume their journey when they realize that Wade's car won't start because the fan belt has been tampered with. While the boys stay at the campsite, Carly and Paige are in the forest. The wind blows again, followed by the foul smell. Curious, Carly decides to investigate. Quickly, Carly discovers, in the worst way possible, where the foul smell was coming from, as she stumbles and falls into a pit. The place is filled with dead animals already in an advanced state of decomposition. The situation becomes even scarier when Carly sees a hand. She screams in fear as the boys run into the forest to help her. As soon as Carly returns safely, a truck arrives and stops on the other side of them. The driver starts dumping more animal remains into the pit carelessly until Wade calls him and asks about the hand that is there. Then the man approaches and shows that the hand is fake. Wade asks the guy about the nearest gas station to buy a new fan belt. The guy then offers to take Wade there, and Carly, who is his girlfriend, naturally wants to go alone. However, the rest of the group doesn't want to miss the game, so they choose to leave the two with the suspicious guy. The group splits up, and we follow Carly and Wade as they are driven to a nearby town called Ambrose. But at some point, Wade and Carly become suspicious. The strange guy announces that they only need to drive a little further, but Carly and Wade, who are already scared of him, insist on walking from this point. Meanwhile, the rest of the group finds themselves stuck in heavy traffic and realizes that they will never make it to the game on time, so they decide to turn back. Back to Carly and Wade, they are walking along the main road of the mysteriously silent town of Ambrose. At some point, Carly receives a call from Paige, who informs her that the rest of the group is heading back to their campsite. The couple arrives at a gas station, but they find no one there, so they decide to walk a little further until they come across the town's church. Upon opening the doors, they find a funeral ceremony taking place. Shortly after, a man comes out of the church, and we discover that he is the owner of the town's gas station. His name is Bo, and he tells Wade and Carly to wait at the gas station while he finishes at the church, as they are conducting the funeral of someone dear to him. To pass the time, the couple decides to visit the town's wax house. They enter, even though there is a sign saying it's closed. The two start exploring and seem amazed that literally everything around them is made of wax, including the building's walls. Looking in a mirror reflection, Carly sees someone watching them, and it scares her. Wade dismisses her fears and reassures her that there's nothing to worry about. While Wade goes out to look for the mysterious figure, Carly decides to explore the other rooms. Carly, however, is very frightened by all of this, so they decide to head to the gas station. Meanwhile, the rest of the group has returned to the campsite. Blake, who wants some alone time with his girlfriend, asks Nick and Dalton to take the car and fetch Carly and Wade. Back to Carly and Wade, they arrive again at the gas station, but Wade can't find what he's looking for. As if it were planned, Bo enters and informs them that he keeps the exact fan belt Wade is looking for in his house. Hearing this, Wade and Carly have no choice but to go with him to his house to get the fan belt. On the way, Bo decides to tell them a story about the town's wax house, which used to be a family business. The main artist was Trudy, and her son Vincent followed in her footsteps. Trudy's husband, Doc Sinclair, used to be a doctor in the big city until his license was revoked for performing an illegal procedure, so the whole family moved to this small town to start over and open this wax museum. Trudy died of brain cancer, and her husband, unable to cope, decided to take his own life. They also had 2 children who ended up in foster homes. Once they arrive, Wade asks for permission to use the bathroom, while Carly decides to wait inside Beau's truck since he offered to give them a ride back. After using the bathroom, Wade decides to explore a strange room inside the house, filled with strange things, including a medical license belonging to a man named Victor Sinclair. Meanwhile, outside, Carly decides to get out of the truck. As she looks around, she notices something. One of the truck's headlights is broken, which means this is the truck she and her friends saw the night before. Realizing they are in danger, she rushes to honk the truck's horn. Suddenly, the lights inside the house go out, and the door closes behind Wade. It is at this point that a mysterious figure appears, cuts his Achilles tendon with a pair of scissors, immobilizes him, and knocks him out. Carly, who is panicking outside, tries to call Paige for help, but her call goes unanswered. She then runs inside the truck and locks herself in, which irritates Beau. Beau breaks down the door and tries to force it open. Fortunately, Carly manages to fight him off by shifting the gear lever. Carly then tries to drive, but she discovers that the truck is stuck. To make matters worse, she sees Beau standing in front of the truck. Still without ideas, Carly escapes out the back and runs for her life. While Carly is running, Wade, who is almost unconscious, is dragged away and placed on a table. The wax sculptor, whose name is Vincent Sinclair, begins to inject him with a paralyzing drug, stitching him up and preparing him to become his next work of art. Carly finally reaches the main street when all the lights suddenly come on, as if they were automatically programmed to do so. She then decides to enter the church in hopes of getting help, but she finds everyone motionless. Not only that, it turns out that all the noises in the church are coming from a single audio player placed in the room. She then checks the prayer booklet and discovers that the dead body inside is none other than Trudy Sinclair, also known as Vincent Sinclair's mother. Like all the other wax figures in the room, her body has been meticulously preserved with wax. Carly then hears footsteps approaching the church and hides. Beau enters the room shortly and refers to the dead body in the coffin as his mother. He begins to search for Carly and almost turns to leave when Carly escapes his grip and runs back outside, but this time, he manages to restrain her. She calls for help, but no one comes to her aid. But there may still be hope, as Nick and Dalton finally arrive. They get out of the car because their car couldn't make it through the rocky path. Beau takes Carly to the basement of the gas station and ties her to a chair. Carly notices a red mark around her wrist, signaling to us viewers that Beau was the child tied to the chair at the beginning of the movie. Beau is interrupted when Nick and Dalton knock on the floor above. He holds a knife to her throat and threatens her not to say anything. The two then decide to split up to search for Wade and Carly. Meanwhile, Beau decides to apply super glue to her lips to prevent her from screaming for help. When Beau finally leaves, she tries to find a way to free herself. Below them, Carly, who hears her brother's voice, begins to try to scream for help, while Beau pretends to be oblivious. Carly finally frees herself from the chair and tries to stick her finger in the trapdoor in the hope that her brother will see her. However, Beau cuts her finger to keep her quiet. Beau then offers to help Nick look for their friends, while Carly struggles to remove the superglue from her lips. Hearing her sister's screams, Nick wrestles with Beau and knocks him down, then manages to enter the store, blocking the entrance, keeping Beau outside, and then goes down to rescue his sister. On the other hand, Dalton makes his way into the wax museum and finds Wade sitting at the piano. Dalton attempts to peel off the wax from him but ends up tearing off his skin instead. Even though Wade is crying and obviously in pain, Dalton, who apparently is clueless, continues to peel off his skin. Suddenly, Vincent approaches him from behind and starts chasing him. Vincent manages to corner him and finishes him off by decapitating him. Returning to Nick and Carly, they realize that Beau has finally decided to leave and rush upstairs. Nick tries to call the police on the landline, but realizes that none of the phones will work. They also can't get help from the town's residents. Carly recalls that when Beau captured her, there was an elderly woman who opened her curtain but decided to close it. The siblings decide to head towards the house of the elderly woman. It turns out that the elderly woman has also been turned into a wax figure. Back at the campsite, Paige is sleeping when suddenly Vincent attacks her. She fights and manages to escape from the tent, but falls to the ground and sees Blake with a knife in his throat. She gets up and runs into the forest, where she finds a random building and hides inside. The lights suddenly come on, and Paige arms herself with a metal bar. Unfortunately, Vincent figures out where she is, so she hides inside a car. Vincent finds her, but is attacked. Paige escapes, but she's not so lucky, as Vincent throws a rod at her, killing her. Back in town, Nick decides to break the window of a hunting supply store to arm himself. When suddenly Bo appears armed with a shotgun and fires at Carly and her brother, but luckily the shot misses them. However, they enter the cinema and disguise themselves as members of the audience while Bo searches for them. Nick shoots an arrow at Bo, but that doesn't stop him from following them. Fortunately, Nick is waiting for him outside and shoots several arrows into his enemy, leaving him for dead. After not finding any more ammunition in the shotgun, they return to Bo's house, where Carly last saw Wade. They then enter and search around. Carly finds a drawer containing newspaper clippings of a surgeon performing a controversial surgery on Siamese twins, which we can only assume were Vincent and Bo. Somehow, Bo is still alive. He begins to remove the arrows lodged in his body. Vincent arrives shortly after, and we discover that his disfigured face is covered in wax. Apparently, Bo, who is manipulative and a bully, has encouraged Vincent to turn the town's residents into wax figures to somehow preserve the legacy of their family. Meanwhile, Carly and Nick manage to escape from them and enter the basement. Unbeknownst to them, the switches turn on the lights in different parts of the town. Bo and Vincent realize this upstairs. The twins then explore the tunnels and find themselves in Vincent's workstation, where they see Dalton. Unfortunately, they don't have much time to process their pain as Vincent appears. The twins try to fight him, accidentally activating the huge wax melting furnaces in the process. Nick pours a pot of wax to prevent Vincent from pursuing them, and the twins make their way back to the wax museum, where they once again encounter Bo. He is still incredibly strong for some reason, despite being shot with arrows not even an hour ago. He fights with Nick until Nick is stabbed in the thigh, and then he fights with Carly, who kills him with a baseball bat. Vincent arrives at the scene and is furious to find his brother dead. He goes after Carly, and Nick arrives just in time to knock him down on the bed. Vincent manages to immobilize Nick until Carly removes the knife from her brother's thigh and uses it to stab Vincent. With their remaining strength, the twins break through the wall and finally manage to get out of the place, and then they see the entire wax house melting. In the next scene, the once quiet town is filled with police investigators and emergency medical teams. Nick and Carly are resting inside an ambulance when the sheriff approaches them. The sheriff explains to them that the town has been abandoned for the past 10 years, but apparently, the brothers have been picking people off the highway and turning them into wax figures. Just as the twins are being taken away from the town, the sheriff is informed that the Sinclair family didn't have 2 sons, but 3. In the final scene, we see the third son, the same guy who gave a ride to the young people, and he looks at Carly, waving goodbye.